Warning, 30 Screams or Less may contain spoilers about movies that have recently been released. If you haven't seen the movie, go watch it, come back, and enjoy the show. Or, if you don't want to waste your time watching the movie and rather have two random horror dudes watch it for you, we got you covered as well. Welcome everyone to 30 Screams or Less, a horror movie podcast where we review horror movies in 30 minutes or less. Today's movie we're going to be talking about is The Funeral. It's directed by, hear me out here, because this is a Turkish movie. So a lot of these names are pretty difficult for me to pronounce. I'm going to give it a whirl though.
Go on, Steve.
All right. Directed by Orcun Behram, starring Ahmet Rifat Sungar as, I'm going to go Cemal. Right?
That's what I think so, yes.
Yeah, because like cement or Cemal. I'm going to go Cemal. Okay. And Cansu Türedi as Zeynep. I'm going to go with it. I think I maybe nailed it. I don't know. If I'm wrong, please let me know.
They're all perfect.
Cool. Plot of this movie is Cemal drives a hearse for a living. He's entrusted with secretly carrying the body of a young girl at the request of her family. One night, he hears strange groans from the back of the truck, even though the girl hasn't got a pulse. But before we get into it, Corey, last night I was looking in the mirror and you know what? My beard was looking gnarly. And I said to myself, I can't look like this. I got to do something. So I decided to break out Beard Octane's beard wash and conditioner along with their beard oil. And dude, my beard looked amazing. I'm glad you turned me on to Beard Octane.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, I've been using their products for years and I can vouch for them. And whether you're pounding IPAs or chopping wood, you got to look your best. Visit beardoctane.com and use the code 30screams10 at checkout for a 10% discount. It helps us. And like I said, the products are absolutely incredible. They're local too. They're based out of Connecticut. So help them out and support small businesses. We're not just slinging beard grooming supplies. We've been using them for a while.
Yeah, we have. 30 Screams or Less starts now. Corey, what did you think of The Funeral?
Steve, this is what I've been lacking in horror recently. I say that from the fact that a lot of movies start very slow and we get slow burns. Basically, nothing really happens until the end of a lot of what we've been watching lately.
Yep.
But this is pure dread for the whole movie. The tension building was off the charts, and I thought the story was really original too.
Yeah, we haven't had a lot of dreadful movies, I guess. Just just constantly like, oh, what the fuck, man, this is unbearable, that type deal, like all the way through. But when I say unbearable, it's not that the movie's bad. I'm saying that it's just like, oh, this girl got fucked up. And then it's like, obviously, would you say she's a zombie? Should we maybe just go with she's a zombie? Because I don't think it's really the case. Like, she has all the the zombie tropes, such as, eating flesh and being dead and things like that. But it was caused by like a cult. So for the sake of this, we'll just say it's a zombie movie. It's a zombie love story. So it's an interesting, cute movie. Like he's a funeral director and she's a zombie and they fall in love, or he falls in love. She's just a zombie. I don't know. But very interesting movie, very slow. So this movie felt like it went on forever. Do you agree?
It felt a lot longer than, was it 2 hours?
Was it?
I think it was 2 hours. It felt longer than that.
It did feel longer than 2 hours. So yeah, as I'm watching this, I'm not like looking at the time or anything like that, but I'm just like, this thing keeps going. Where is this going to go? I kept wondering, where is it going to go? Where is it going to go? Because there was so much portion on them hanging out in a hotel room and, just figuring shit out and killing people, bringing them in, chopping them up, all that stuff. So that went on for a solid hour, I would say.
So side note here, it was an hour and 49 minutes was the runtime of this.
So it wasn't even 2 hours. Wow.
It was close.
Okay, so it felt like it was more than 2 hours. But sometimes this is a good thing. This movie, there was dread all the way through, but I was actually kind of sucked in, and I wasn't on my phone, nothing like that. I was just watching it because it's a very unique story. The whole idea of this movie is that this guy who's a funeral director, he's hired by, was it his brother at the beginning?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so he's hired by his brother at the beginning to take this corpse to a certain location and stay away for like a month, that type deal. You know, be on the down low with this whole thing, and he's going to get like 50 grand. And I think it's 50 grand. It's Turkish money. I'm just assuming it's probably 50,000. So he takes the money, he drives the girl out, and he stops off at a hotel. And that's when he starts hearing all these groans from the back of the truck. And he brings her in to the hotel room and just lays her in the bathtub. And then you start seeing her like blink. And I'm like, oh, this is a little fucked up.
So this happens. This happens after he first initially hears her wheezing in the back of the van, right?
Right, exactly.
So
that's
I got to talk about that for a second.
Go for it.
So he's walking into the hotel room and he hears this wheezing sound coming from the back of the van that he's driving, or the hearse.
Mm-hmm.
He opens the doors of the van and he sees the body bag open. Dude, I would have blown the fucking car up at that point.
I would have been like, nope, I'm good.
And then he gets in the van and like gets close to the body. I shit you not, that wheezing noise that we hear this entire fucking film, I heard it in my dreams.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's like that death breathing.
Yeah, it's what is it, death rattle they call it, where like someone's like close to dying and you can just hear like the fluid in their lungs and shit. It's a noise it makes.
It's exactly that. So
it's constant the whole movie.
Yeah, that squeaky breathing. I can't do it because it's going to hurt my throat by doing it. But it's like when you're closing up your... Oh, you know what? I want to talk about that, actually. Let's talk a little bit more about that. That's very hard to do, that sound, that breathing sound. Like I was just saying, you basically have to close up your vocal cords to make that breathing sound. And she did it through the whole entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
So that alone is very impressive vocally.
A lot of lozenges.
Yeah, a lot of lozenges, like lozenges, hot tea, just honey, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Water galore. So, like, she did that throughout the whole entire movie. So that's one thing I noticed, too. I was just thinking to myself, like, damn, that must be killing her. But maybe she just has that ability. Like, I have the ability to scream, and it doesn't bother me. But some people have, things that they can do that, and it doesn't bother them. So I can relate. I just know I can't do that, like, per se.
Yeah.
But it was very impressive. Actually, now I'm thinking about it, it was very impressive. So, let's kind of go like piece by piece, I guess, with this movie. So the funny thing when we were watching this, we got a screener for it. And dude, the fucking watermark. Oh my God. It must have been like Arial Black 200-point font size. It was ginormous.
What was the other movie we did where the last one, We Are Zombies, it also has this like insanely large watermark. I don't know why they do that.
It's because
it used to be when they sent us screeners for something, it would say 30 screams or less because they brand all that shit because they don't want it leaking. But it would say it in like a smallish font, or it would only show up for 5 or 10 seconds at a time and then it would go away.
Yeah.
This was the whole length of the movie.
Yeah, just think like a banner ad throughout the whole entire movie, basically overlaying it.
And I don't want it to sound like we're complaining because we're really fortunate to get movies before they're released. But like, holy crap, that was a watermark if I've ever seen one.
Oh, no, I get it. I understand why they do it, and I'm not knocking them for doing it because it is important to make sure you're watermarking your shit because people will take this movie and they'll put it up online and, and share it. And then that's going to obviously hurt streaming, streams, if you will. So I get it. But sometimes it's like, okay, can we maybe dial it back a little bit so I can actually see what the hell's happening in the movie? It was very distracting.
Make it like a font size 11 or something.
Yeah, or just like an overlay, something kind of at the top that you can still see the movie, but you still see that watermark in there. You clearly like, okay, this is clearly stolen, that type deal. But it was fucking massive.
Yeah.
It was so big. So, yeah, let's go back into it. So the brother, like I was saying before, trying to get him to go away for a month with this girl. So I'm just thinking like powerful family, probably mob type stuff. Later on, we find out not quite. This has to do with a lot of cult shit, which I love seeing cult shit in movies, man.
Oh, I know. As soon as I saw them kind of alluding to a cult in the beginning, I knew you were wetting yourself.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what it is. You know what? I think it's just I find it fascinating. I think that's the thing for me. Like, for instance, there's a new Heaven's Gate documentary out. I want to watch that because that whole shit is just fascinating. It's fucking psychotic, but it's very fascinating.
Heaven's Gate?
You don't know Heaven's Gate?
No.
Oh, baby. Oh, yeah.
Right.
All right. Let me give you a little like rundown of Heaven's Gate. So Heaven's Gate was a cult in like the early 90s, right? And they all killed themselves because they all thought their soul or whatever was going to be sent up to this comet, Halley's Comet, that was, flying by the Earth. So they thought that killing themselves was, I guess, like sending their soul up there, and they would move on to they call it the next level, which is really just, I guess, like their heaven or something like that. But that's what this cult is all about. And dude, they shaved their heads. They all wore the same exact clothes. They had Nikes on. They all laid in like these bunk beds and just, drank whatever the Kool-Aid was, covered themselves head to toe in a sheet, except for the shoes, of course, because they had the flex, and they all died.
All right, you gotta
wild.
Send that to me.
Yeah, and also there's a podcast on it too, which was addicting. I blew through that whole podcast on it in like fucking no time. This was a while ago when I was like still going into the office, but very fascinating stuff, and it's kind of crazy. They all just kind of went asexual. No one looked like a guy. No one looked like a girl. And it just blows my mind, some of these cults, how people are just like, they just give up so much. They'll be like, all right, I'm going to give up my family. I'm going to give up my friends, my money, my everything. And I'm focusing on this. I don't get it. So I'd like to learn about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What streaming service is it on?
I think it's on HBO or
HBO.
Max, I should say.
Okay.
But I'll find it. I'll send it to you. Because I've been wanting to check it out, but there's a whole bunch of them. There's a whole ton of documentaries on it.
Okay.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, I like documentaries, but fuck, man, do they put me to sleep. I think it's just people talking. And I get so like relaxed. In school, I just fucking fell asleep all the time listening to people.
Yep. Meetings,
Yeah.
classes, yeah.
Oh my God. Dates? I almost fell asleep.
That's your problem.
I went on a date once, almost fell asleep. Oh my God. Like, I can only deal with someone talking about their cat or their laundry habits for so long until I'm like, all right, I'm about to fucking pass out after I ate this big ass meal.
Yeah, that's no, that's you don't do that.
No. You talk about better things other than fucking laundry and cats. So, okay. So anyways, the camera work is interesting, by the way. I've noticed this is that they weren't using like a gimbal. You know what a gimbal is, right?
I've heard the word. I don't know exactly what it is now.
Okay. So
or is it the crane looking thing?
Yeah, but it's not like, it doesn't necessarily need to be a crane. It can be handheld. So it basically keeps the camera stabilized. So that way, like if you're doing like a lot of movement, it just still kind of stays in place. But the whole, like obviously the camera moves with you. It stops it from kind of shaking. Let's say you hold your cell phone, right? And you're taking a photo and you're shaking a little bit and you can see how it's kind of moving. If you had a gimbal, let's say your hands were shaking, it would keep the phone straight and like still. So that's what gimbals do. And people can call them all sorts of things like mounts or whatever. But I thought this made a lot of sense because a lot of it was being filmed outside. So it looked like it was someone peering in, watching the main character. And I think that's cool when they do that type of camera approach. Sometimes it can be distracting for some people. But it made sense because when you have like a zombie aspect, I feel like you have to have that kind of camera control because it makes people feel a little uneasy.
I feel like it looks more realistic too in that sort of post-apocalyptic world when that shit's going on.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, and it just makes so much sense. And that's what they did for this movie. So there wasn't a lot of still camera. Like there was a lot of shakiness to it. And so it was very realistic looking as if you're walking with them. And it's just kind of like real life. So I thought it was really cool. There was a lot of chaos happening in this too. So I was very confused what was happening once he got to the hotel. All of a sudden, he wakes up in like this, I don't know, bloody room or like a hallway where there's nothing but blood and flesh and stuff. Dude, I was like, what is happening here?
She just ripped everyone up.
Yeah, just flesh and blood and cult symbols. And as soon as I saw the symbol, I'm like, I get it. I know what that is. It's going to be a cult thing.
Yeah, because didn't she have it like carved into her chest?
Yes, she did.
Okay.
So she had it carved into her chest, and that's when I realized, okay, we got a symbol on the wall, we got a symbol in that girl's chest. It's all culty type stuff and real messed up. You know what this movie kind of reminded me of too? Do you remember the movie we reviewed, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It was like the two assassins and like that whole cult where they were in the woods. They had those crazy masks on and they were sacrificing a girl. Do you remember this?
No, I don't.
You don't remember this? Oh, shit. I'd have to look it up, but yeah, we literally reviewed it. At this point, people, we've reviewed 2 years worth of stuff. Anyways, I thought they had really cool masks, these cult members. They were all wearing like, I don't know if it was like all straw looking masks or something like that. That's what it kind of looked like to me. So I want to talk a little bit about this hearse, though.
This was an interesting looking hearse.
I know, right? Just
like the ones we're used to here. So I don't know if that's something that they have in Turkey.
Yeah, ours is a little. Yeah, ours is a little different. They look like limousines, like just regular ass limousines, except a dead body in the back. And I'm thinking to myself, man, this hearse must smell horrific because there is just nothing but dead in that back seat and not like in the back or whatever. Because you have a rotting person, but then later on, when Cemal, he kills that random guy that he meets in a bar just so she can eat.
I was like, so that whole scene, I'm like, why is he fucking killing this guy randomly? And then, no, he needs to feed his friend. That's why.
Yep, exactly. So what I thought was weird, too, is like, how the hell did he just meet this guy? All of a sudden, they're like sitting together, hanging out at a bar. And I'm like, I don't know how this happened. Like, is that a thing in Turkey where people just sit down with each other and they have a beer and like, that's it?
So, Steve, I know we live in the United States. Believe it or not, I've been to Europe and different places.
Okay.
People are way nicer. So, yes, really? This is probably very normal.
Is that okay? That's a normal thing then.
You don't, you don't fucking talk to a random person in the U.S. because you might get punched. There,
yeah,
you know, you can have a conversation with a random person.
No shit.
Like,
what's
dude,
that?
when we were in Belgium last year, even Iceland, people are way nicer. They,
go ahead.
And they hate the U.S.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised. We're so mad over here. I don't get it. We're just always so upset and angry. And it's got to be that we just have to pay so much money and everything.
Dude, one of my favorite stories to tell about our trip to Iceland was like when you're trying to cross the street here, like in a crosswalk, for example, like nobody fucking stops. You'll be lucky if someone stops or doesn't aim for you directly, right?
Right.
In Iceland, dude, they literally like will stop. You don't even need to be in a crosswalk. Someone will stop and like kindly let you cross the road. They don't aim for you.
What?
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Unheard of, right?
That's unheard of. We're clearly psychopaths then.
So, yeah, I wouldn't put it past this being hyper realistic with him just meeting a person at a bar and becoming friends.
Oh, well, that makes sense. I mean, I've been to Canada plenty of times and
that doesn't count.
It's a little different. It's clearly different than the US. And I've met so many nice people up in Canada. There was one time where we didn't have cell phone service because we didn't have like those plans, like the out of country plans, whatever, like we do now. So we had to fucking wing it. We would have to use payphones and shit just to make sure we can call places and whatever. So we asked this guy, like, hey, do you know where this is? We're asking someone on the side of the road. Well, not on the side of the road, but, you know, just walking in like downtown or something. And he's like, oh, yeah, let me show you. He walked the whole way with us. I'm like, dude, don't you have things to do? He's like, oh, no, I'm fine. What's that?
See? I said he just wants to chat and be your friend.
Exactly. And he was like, oh, here you go, guys. Have a great day. I'm like, that's it? Do I owe you money?
Do I need to pay for that?
Yeah. Like, what's going on here? Like, you think there's a motive. And, like, I feel like maybe the U.S., maybe there's a motive for that type of stuff. Everyone's got a, you know, some sort of motive, something in mind, like some sort of plan, whatever. I just thought thought that was wild. So,
nah, dude, we're just assholes here. It's plain and simple.
Well, you know, we kind of were developed on violence. So it probably just carried out through the years. You know, we came over here, we killed the Indians and
we stole their land.
Yeah, we stole their land. We started off with violence and theft. So it probably just passes down from generation to generation of all psychopaths. That's my theory on the United States.
You're not wrong.
Nope.
We fucking Christopher Columbus killed all the Indians and stole the land.
Yep, he sailed the ocean blue in 1492.
Yep. We celebrate it every year.
I know, it's fucking crazy.
We have a whole day dedicated to it.
We have a day dedicated to someone stealing the land and slaughtering people. What a concept.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Europe fucking laughs at us.
No wonder why. Oh, man, we're freaking ridiculous. So, okay. back to the movie. So I just found that very interesting. So obviously at that point, he takes this guy from the bar and he entices him by saying, oh yeah, I have a place for you to stay if you need a place to stay. So brings him back and beats the shit out of him in the car and then drags him into the motel. So I'm thinking to myself the whole time, like, how are people not noticing this guy being dragged through a parking lot into like a motel room? So I don't know if it's like one of those places where it's like everyone just kind of keeps to themselves, because there's some shady motels, man. At least I know in the United States.
Everyone's just minding their business. It's fine.
Yep, just mind your business.
You should do that here.
Yeah, probably for the best. I think
if you want to drag a person across a parking lot here, you should be able to do it without anyone fucking ratting you out, you know?
Why not? Fuck it. We're already violent as it is.
Right? If I want to drag a body across a Texas Roadhouse parking lot, just let me do it.
Yeah, go for it. And I won't say anything because I will be like somewhere else.
You'll be helping me.
Well, I won't do that.
Fuck.
Maybe. FBI's knocking on my door. Sorry, I'll be right back.
They're listening to this live.
Somehow. Oh, wait, no, there's always a way. There's always a way. Freedom of Information Act. They're probably listening to this whole recording.
Mm-hmm.
Good for them. I hope they're enjoying it, because I know I am. So there's a lot left to this movie, but this guy gets brought into this motel, laid down. At this point, Zeynep, she's just kind of getting into like regular zombie mode. Like before, she was a fucking mess. Like she had some blood on her. She was clearly beat up and more dead than usual looking for a zombie. Until
I was going to ask you if you noticed that, you know, she slowly became more human throughout the movie, basically.
Yeah.
Not more human, but like just looked alive.
Yeah. You know what I thought she kind of started looking like? 30 Days of Night. You know, the vampire movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. So almost looking like vampire-like towards the end. But clearly zombie, but she had like the black eyes and everything like that. She was just hacking people and fucking, you know, just jumping at them, like biting their throats, things like that. So it almost looked like she was starting to turn into a vampire towards the end. So it was almost like half and half. So after he bathed her and all this stuff and started putting regular clothes on her. And so one thing that I forgot to mention, though, before he even brought the guy into the hotel room so that Zeynep could eat him, he was actually feeding her pieces of his flesh.
I know. It was so fucked up because somehow he wasn't even reacting to her chomping away at him.
Yeah. And
I'd be fucking like wincing in pain if someone was biting on my shoulder.
Yeah, fucking tell me about it. Dude, like he took off his shirt and you saw like the marks and everything all over him, and it's just he looked like a hot mess. Now, what I thought was interesting, and this is why I was questioning whether it was like kind of a zombie flick or not, is that she was just eating this guy, just kind of like snacking on him, and he's letting it happen, and he didn't turn into a zombie. So it was basically the culty shit that caused her to actually turn into like this zombie.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
He did not turn into a zombie. He was just zombie food.
Yep. He was just hanging out like, oh, don't worry, I got you. And at some point he realized like, fuck, this is starting to hurt. So that's when he goes to the nearest bar, hanging out with some rando, brings him home so he can have a place to stay. I guess, you know, that's the nice neighborly thing to do that we're not used to here. And and then Cemal knocks the guy out and brings him into the hotel room, and she has her way and just starts fucking eating him.
So did you have a feeling that there was going to be some sort of weird sex scene here between Cemal and Zeynep?
Oh, fuck yeah.
I thought it was going to happen because he was clearly developing feelings for this, you know, I'm going to say dead girl.
Yep. Living dead girl.
I thought, yeah. So he's going out and getting her food. And like, I'm like, this is going to get weird at some point.
Oh, yeah. It started getting a little weird. Like he started going out and getting people, and we cut them up and basically have body parts for, I don't know, snacks for her. And they were, I don't know, did you
put them all in Tupperware containers?
You beat me to it. Yeah. Just meal prepping. It was meal prepping.
He literally meal prepped this dude. He chopped his body up and he was just putting the pieces of the body in little Tupperware containers.
Oh my God, man. It was so ridiculous. That's all I thought of the whole time. Is like, oh, look at that. You know, he's being smart about his food, about what he's going to eat. Well, he didn't eat that shit, obviously. But it got really crazy, though, towards the end where he started having body parts hanging from inside the van.
He was making jerky.
Yeah, dude, it was fucking crazy. You know, we do ridiculous things for the people we love, and that's what he did. He loved her, and it's so weird. He must have been just some, like, lonely guy, man, to fall in love with a dead person, because clearly there's no relationship being built there other than him just doing everything for her. They're not talking. They're not being intimate. They're not doing anything. But somehow he loved her, and I guess you can tell she cared somewhat, but very interesting love story. And that's basically what this was. It was an overall love story.
It kind of reminded me of Lisa Frankenstein a little bit.
Yeah, I could see that, because in Lisa Frankenstein pulled the same thing where she was killing people to get parts for, well, I don't know, the monster, because it's not Frankenstein. It's just, you know, the monster. So yeah, same deal. He would just cut people up and then bring them home to her for dinner.
What a caring person.
Yeah, what a nice guy.
They're so caring in Europe.
They really are. They just kill each other and feed each other, and that's that. And I want to circle back to this. You remember how we were just talking about how people like clearly mind their own business. So after he hacked this guy up and he put all the body parts, whatever, in Tupperware containers for later, he has this tarp of blood, and he just walks out of the motel, throws it in the van, broad daylight. No one noticed whatsoever. I thought it was so, like, ridiculous. I guess people just like to mind their own business over there.
Yep. That's just it. You can do whatever you want. No one says a thing.
Not here. We have Karens.
And Richards.
And, oh, yeah, Karens and Richards. And they just hang out, and they're like, you can't park there. It's like, this is my hotel room. What are you doing here? And it's just, that's the way it is here. So definitely a little different. So at this point, they start noticing that this guy he met at the bar is missing. And they got footage of the van leaving where he was, like, that person was last seen. I don't remember the guy's name, but they got, like, footage of the hearse and leaving the scene where the guy's car was left. And so he stops in a store. The guy sees this footage and notices Cemal, and obviously he had to get the fuck out of there. But when he left, he decides to go to his sister's house. His estranged sister that he hasn't seen in like 20 years.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I was wondering who that was because I did not hear anyone say sister.
Okay, I had, well, you had to have translation on, right?
Well, I did, but I guess I missed that because I was probably taking notes. That's another thing about fucking subtitles, man.
It's hard. It's so hard.
Unless you're looking at the TV, you're missing something.
And yeah, because you have to really focus on that. And sometimes I can miss things too, but you know, I did pick that up. So that is his sister, and estranged. Hasn't seen her in like 20 years, so he just decides he's going to go visit her. So he visits his sister, drops Zeynep off into this little house that's on the property. He goes off and decides he's going to meet up with, I believe, is a friend of his. And he knows that this friend can help him out with painting this hearse, because now the cops are kind of onto him. And so his friend paints the hearse for him reluctantly, because typically you have to have this documentation, whatever. But he did it reluctantly because Cemal offered him a shit ton of money to do it. And this is where I was mentioning about the body parts in the back. So after the friend is done painting the hearse, he turns the light on just to show him, like, you know, how good it looks. He looks in the back and he sees like arms hanging, like legs hanging, all this shit. And then Cemal fucking knocks him out, beats the shit out of him with a hammer, because obviously he can't let his friend go out and start telling the cops and shit that his friend is fucking got body parts all over the back of his hearse. But he knew something was up because it smelled a little fucking weird. I mean, how could that not smell good?
Well, I mean, he was puking at the Tupperware in the van.
He was fucking, it was gross, dude.
I can't imagine what that smelled like.
Yep. So they go back to Zeynep. At this point, Zeynep is hanging out in that house by herself. And then this is where the culty shit starts happening. Like, her eyes turn jet black. She's looking outside. She sees all these figures that were part of this cult, I guess. And she's in a whole different mindset. But her sister walks in and sees this girl because, like, she heard some noise. She goes in, and her and Zeynep end up getting in a fight, and she stabs her. And now Cemal is a fucking mess because he sees Zeynep stabbed, and he takes her out of there, brings her into the hearse, and they drive off. So Zeynep's not happy, obviously, about being both dead and stabbed in the stomach. I mean, that's not a great way to meet his sister. Well, meet the family, especially for a couple in love. So they stop off at some random spot, and they're just trying to lay low. Cops come by. Zeynep fucking dives and kills this cop because Cemal was about to be arrested. And Zeynep runs off. She's clearly pissed at him. They're doing that whole thing where couples are like, arguing, or one's mad and they're storming off, and like the other guy has to go chase her. And you see it all the time in rom-coms. All the time. It's always like the girl storms off. And then they make an agreement. They go back together and they go back in the hearse. But this is leading up to the scene where they make it to the cult house. I'm going to call it cult house.
Cult house. I like it.
Cult house? Okay.
Yeah.
So they make it back there. At this point, I don't think they realize that Zeynep is back in kind of living form. I want to say living form, or I don't think they realize she's a zombie, but I think they have an idea it's going to happen. So Zeynep's back, and they're going to have this ceremony where I think she's just going to be sacrificed, and Cemal can see this from a mile away. So somehow he has a gun. I don't remember how he got the gun. But maybe maybe from the cop? Maybe, I don't know what it's like for cops over there, what they have for guns and shit. I know in like the UK, they don't really have guns.
Yeah, they don't have to because the crime rate's so low.
Yeah, what the fuck? We need to basically have bazookas here.
Yeah, you need to defend yourself when you leave your fucking house.
I know, it's so bad. So Cemal has a gun, and they both go on this rampage together, and they're both taking out all of these cult members. She's doing it like bare hands, obviously, because she's just hacking away at people and jumping on them and like biting the necks. He's just shooting people. And the idea is that Zeynep is going to try to get to her father, who I think, or I believe, is the cult leader.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole idea. And I think this overall concept, what's happening here, is that they're trying to kill this whole cult, get her basically away from it, so that way she can move on with her life, I guess. So they take care of business. She kills her father. Cemal is injured, but he's still alive. And they get in the hearse. End scene, fade to black.
I thought that was kind of weird, but whatever.
Yeah. I thought the ending was weird because I'm thinking to myself, where do you go from here? I thought there was going to be a whole nother portion where they're like on a beach hanging out. Could you imagine?
Sipping margarita?
Yeah, sipping margaritas in Mexico, just having a good time by the beach. They got some kids. They're both dead. All that stuff. Hey, they pulled it off in Natural Born Killers.
Man, I haven't seen that in so long.
Oh, man, that movie's fucked. It's so fucked.
It's so old, too.
Yeah. 90s?
Mm-hmm. See. Yeah, 94.
94? Okay. So 94.
Young baby Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, no. So at the end of that, Mickey and Mallory, they have kids. They're in a trailer home, or not a trailer home, but like an RV, and they're just living the family life after they've killed a shit ton of people.
Yep.
So, same deal. They just killed a shit ton of people, and they just drive off. I was hoping that love story, happy ending would be them doing some ridiculous shit like that. But now we're talking comedy territory. Now it's not necessarily dreadful, violent horror. Then it would be a rom-com. A horror rom-com, I guess. Something like that. Anyways, that's how it ends. It kind of ends abruptly.
Yeah. Odd ending, and I was a little confused at first. Mm-hmm. Like I even watched to the end of the credits on this one to see if there's anything else at the end, but no, it was done.
Can you imagine if there was like some Marvel end credits at the end?
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, there's no way it ends this way. There's got to be something else.
Yep. Nick Fury comes in, and he's trying to get
assembling a team.
Assembling a team of zombies.
Well, I mean, Marvel Zombies is a thing, so
that's right. You're right about that. Sometimes I forget about that. I mean, Doctor Strange was a zombie in Doctor Strange 2. I barely remember that movie.
That's okay.
It's fine. It's
a movie.
Yeah, it's a movie. It's good, not great. Actually, it's more fine than it is good. All right, Corey, what do you give The Funeral?
So I'm going to give this one a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
I enjoyed it, but the constant dragging kind of left a bad taste in my mouth.
I can see that.
We've pretty much already talked about all of this stuff, but I feel like the runtime, it was really long, only or an hour and 49 minutes after we researched it on this episode. Seemed way longer than that.
Yeah.
Thought the gore was really great. I love the dread building, extremely high tension, and the score was really good as well.
Oh, yeah. We didn't even talk about the score. It was very good.
Yeah, original concept, but the dragging just kind of killed it for me.
I could see that. So,
but I'm not going to shit on it entirely because there was a lot of stuff I did like.
Yeah, there was a lot I did like about this movie. So my score was a little different, but there's one thing I wanted to talk about before I go into my score, and I noticed this at the end. So before they start like driving away and Cemal and Zeynep, they killed everyone. I noticed there was just like one random person in the background. So I don't think they killed everyone. I think it's just either a rando, like a mistake, or maybe they're setting up for a sequel. You know, it's the brother. He's upset that mom and dad are dead and the whole cult, and now he's going to be a super cult leader and going to have a mega church and go after them. I don't know. I write this stuff for you. It's there. If you want the idea, I got it. So I'm going to go into my review now because that's ridiculous. I'm going with a 4 out of 5 on this one. Super unique movie, and I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. The movie did drag on for a bit, so I think that's where it lost a point for me. Otherwise, the acting was good. The practical effects were great. Good score. But again, heads up, subtitles definitely required on this one.
Unless you speak Turkish.
Yeah, unless you speak Turkish, subtitles required. All right, everyone, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and YouTube. Leave us a 5-star review on all podcast platforms so we can get some more exposure. Of course, tell your friends. Both our intro and outro music are courtesy of Andrew Scott Bell. Be sure to check out Andrew on all major streaming platforms. And if you see Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey on vinyl in the wild, be sure to pick it up. We're also part of the Shining Wizards Network. Be sure to visit shiningwizardsnetwork.com. They're an awesome podcast network ranging from wrestling to heavy metal, horror, all that good stuff. So check that out. Visit 30screamsorless.com for all previous episodes and transcripts to go with those episodes. Also, check out beardoctane.com for their whole line of grooming supplies, and be sure to use the code 30screams10 at checkout for 10% off your order. And if there's anything you want us to review, send an email to 30screamsorless@gmail.com or hit us up on social media. Use hashtag 30screamsorless. And also, we have some awesome merch for sale on our website, so definitely check that out. If you go to our website, at the very top, there's a shop link. Click that link, and you'll see all sorts of shirts, hats, mugs, things like that. If you buy it, it helps going towards our hosting costs. I'm Steve.
I'm Corey.
And thanks for listening to 30 Screams or Less. And don't forget to drink your beans.